Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Find Your Freedom. Today we have a guest I'm super excited to bring on today. And what's really special about this one person has single-handedly impacted so many lives with regards to getting into the short-term rental game. So they've really become the model as far as like paying it forward. And this person has so many experiences and different parts of real estate. And, this person personally has helped me get into short-term rentals. And, without further ado, Alex Sabio, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for that intro, me, Lenny. I'm really excited to be here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Alex, man, listen, you're super inspiring, just like Omid just mentioned. I mean, the countless lives that, you are changing, which is super cool. But before we get into all the terrific things that you're doing, just give us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I kind of wish I had a better story to tell, but my story is more about adversity and just kind of overcoming it. So, Alex Sabio, married father of four, live here in Southern California. I have a W-2 job in healthcare. I'm a respiratory therapist. Been doing that for about 20 years now. My specialty is working with premature babies. I've kind of done it all, but eventually I kind of landed on this niche. Some of these babies are like less than 1 pound small when they're born. Started real estate like in mid to early 2000s. Like I said, I made almost every mistake out there. I started in the single family long-term rental space, started investing out of state, bought a home near a hospital I was working at, thinking I would rent out to doctors and nurses, and that never happened. Tried to self-manage it as a landlord, and that was awful. and so 2008 hit, and the house wound up being worth way less than what I paid for. And the mortgage was like $3,200, and my rent was $2,000, and that's if they paid, and if they paid on time, and and that didn't include the HOA fee or any capex. So after 2-3 years, I kind of ran out of time and energy and money, really. So I wound up having a foreclosure, and then eventually had a bankruptcy. But I had all this knowledge with real estate, and I knew that there was something there, and I just wanted to keep with it. So eventually, I still had a lot of my long-term rentals. The banks didn't even want them. Like they said, you keep it. We don't want those. Those assets are horrible. We don't want them. But I kept them. And over time, the interest rates went down, rents went up, equity went up. And I wanted to really start scaling the portfolio. And for me to get to financial freedom, it was either I was going to have to purchase a bunch of these properties. It was like going to be like 100 or 150 of them to get to my financial freedom number. Or something else had to happen, like your cash flow needed to increase. So eventually I started looking into multifamily, thinking, hey, I'll probably get like a large apartment complex. But COVID hit, and, that kind of threw a wrench into my plans. And, it was really difficult to get a multifamily at that time. And somehow just interviewing as many and talking to as many real estate investors and networking, I kind of came across this one person. She was telling me how she was making $24,000 a month profit with her 3 short-term rentals. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is, And so I kind of just went down a rabbit hole and acquired my first short-term rental in August of 2020. And we've been rocking out ever since. We're all in on the short-term rental game. We actually absolutely love it. Sometimes we don't. Like it's Christmas 2022, and there was a winter storm that froze all of our pipes. But those are the things that come with it. But we really enjoy it, and there's so much profit with it. So that's been where we've been focusing our energy in.
Wow. Okay. So Alex, there's like a lot to unpack. So I just want to kind of start from the beginning, because I think a lot of people, they get into real estate, something goes wrong, and then they say, it's not for me. So yeah. You have this resilience about you where you learned a lot of lessons along the way. You pivot in multiple stages, and then you eventually find something that kind of works for you. So maybe you can just like walk me through your thought process around like what made you decide to stay in real estate with so many mistakes that kind of came along with it, when a lot of people decide, hey, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, maybe I was just too stupid and too stubborn, and I just kept going on with it, you know,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to give up. You know, the thing is, my grandparents actually were in real estate in the early '70s, and they owned a boarding care facility. I had a great aunt who owned a motel on the Las Vegas Strip. I always thought that was really cool, and for some reason, it appealed to me. I knew that, like, I'm sure every single person listening to this knows that if you stick with real estate long enough, you'll be fine. And real estate's extremely forgiving, right? Excuse me. I didn't even tell you guys, like, one of the first real estate deals I had was a scam. It was somebody, yeah, I bought a duplex in Denver, Colorado. It was $320,000. He wanted 5% down. I went and visited, looked at the lot and everything. And then a month later, he told me it was a scam. Or he didn't tell me. I guess the guy got arrested, went to jail. But for some reason, I knew that there was something there, right? The first house I ever bought, it went up $100,000 in the first year. And this was 2004. And I knew there was something there. I was only making like $45,000 a year. And I said, well, this thing just generated double my salary. Like, there has to be something to it. And I think a lot of people do fail. It's like in baseball, you're not going to hit a home run every single time. Heck, you're not going to get a base hit every single time. There might be times where you strike out. But I think if you keep at it, you're going to do just fine.
Hey, man, that's super awesome. It's funny you sit there, you mentioned, hey, your first deal was a scam, and when you think about that, like, the average person will probably sit there and wash their hands, of this real estate thing. But from a mindset perspective, Alex, like, tell us or walk us through kind of what you was thinking and why did you still want to pursue after you lost all this money?
Oh, it was, I'm not even going to lie. I mean, there were times where you want to cry and you're like, you don't know what you're doing. I don't know. I just kept on going with it. And I saw the power, and I saw that there was so many other people making good money with it. I just knew that, I just wanted nice base hits, nice solid investments initially. And I just want to keep going with it. And I knew, and eventually with the short-term rental game, those ones have been home runs. But even today, like in this economy, I'm still looking for a nice base hit and double. Just as long as you keep failing forward, I think you're going to be okay.
Well,
I don't buy you, but I like being. Oh.
Just real quick, just for the listeners, base hit versus home run. Can you just explain the difference between the two?
Sure. Like a base hit, to be honest with you, is just something that's keep moving forward, right? And that's what I feel like the long-term rentals were. The long-term rentals, they were generating like maybe $100, $200. The best one I had was generating about $500 a month net profit, right? But our short-term rentals, they were generating anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 a month profit. And that's why I feel like you only need a handful of short-term rentals to be financially free. You don't need 200 properties like what I was trying to do with long-term rentals. You could get to financial freedom just with 3, 4, or 5. So to me, that's a home run. Not only that, they gave me so much tax breaks that I wound up not paying anything in taxes. So shoot, it was a grand slam for me.
So Alex, so your story resonates with me because I have a similar path. So I bought a long-term rental in Vegas in the early 2000s, and you see what happened in 2008, and essentially the rents dropped significantly, the value dropped significantly, and I was in a position where eventually when I bought my personal residence in 2010, I walked away from that particular investment. As a lot of people in that point, they would stop. And so for me, I would say like maybe around like 2018, I started kind of looking again. I was like, hey, you know what? I think I'm ready to kind of look into real estate again, because everything I researched pointed me back to real estate. So as I went through this journey, I went like bigger pockets and networking and going to events. And that's kind of like where I met you and Lenny specifically. So like for the listeners, what would you say would be something that you would recommend as far as like learning lessons and how you maybe pivot or change, and how do you make those decisions when, as far as like proceeding forward and maybe even doing something different?
For me, I always tell people networking is your biggest ROI. A lot of times it doesn't cost any money, like to go at one of these Zoom calls or something like that, or a network real estate meetup, $10 to get in or something like that. Most people will kind of thumb their nose and not want to pay the $10. Or Omid, where I met you at a conference. I think it was $100 or $200. But the thing is, you want to get in the room where people are doing things. And just keep your mind open, because you'll never, like, if you told me I'd be investing in a short-term rental in Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee, 3 years ago, I tell you, what are you talking about? I don't have no idea what you're talking about, right? So just keep your mind open to the possibility that there are people that are doing big things out there in something that you never really, anticipated you'd be in. Omid, and Lenny, when I met you guys at a multi-family meetup. Like, we were trying to buy apartments. We weren't even thinking about short-term rentals. It was like the furthest thing from our mind. But the thing is, like I said, you keep your mind open and then just really take a look at what everyone else is doing. And if you're open to those opportunities, I think you'll do just fine. I can't hear you.
I can't hear you either.
Oh man, my microphone is clocking out on me. I'm in full swing over here, right? But we're, no, I was mentioning, it's funny that you mentioned, where we all met and the power of that networking and the ROI. And it's one thing that I really want the listeners to understand, is because a lot of people believe that when they go to this event or this meetup, that something's supposed to happen tomorrow. And honestly, I met, Omid, I met you, Alex, and, we all stayed in touch, kind of met once a month. And a year and a half later, Alex sharing some of his experiences with short-term rentals made all of us pivot. So the ROI on that event didn't pay off until, a year and a half later. And I just want people to know that, but I know you help a lot of people, Alex, and I guess why? Like, what is the reason why you want to sit here and help? I know you started a group, you can talk about that and share the name of that group with everyone, but why do you do it?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. And really what it was is, I've always been in the abundance mindset. And I know when I got into short-term rentals, I felt like I had this hack that no one else knew. People were talking about making like $500 a month on their long-term rentals. And it was like, ha, I know something that you don't know over here. Like, take a look over here. And to me, I just wanted to shout it to the world. At the time, we were working in the hospital and COVID was running rampant. And everyone in the hospital was asking me questions about short-term rentals. And at the time, after working a 12, 14, 16-hour shift, I would get on the phone with people and kind of just spill the beans pretty much. I'm like, here's the realtor I use. Here's the lender I use. Here's my cost segregation analysis. And to be honest with you, like, I was getting tired, like 2-3 phone calls every single day, giving everyone the same spiel. And so what I did is I created a community called Healthcare Professionals Investing in Real Estate. And I was surprised, like a bunch of people started showing up and going to these meetups that I was having. And so I knew there was some value there. And really, to make better use of my time, I figured I would just, host weekly meetups and then have this Facebook community where it was not me giving the same spiel 3, 4, 5 times every single day, to where I could give it one time. It's been addictive for me, because I get like a lot of text messages or, messages saying, hey, I purchased my first short-term rental because of you, because you've inspired me. I think that's been powerful. And I do get something out of that. It's not like I'm completely giving all of this, information away and not getting anything out of it. I do enjoy seeing other people, get to financial freedom just like where I am, or if not, do way better than what I'm doing. So there's a lot of gratification there for me. So.
No, so Alex, I want to speak on that. So you're the reason why I kind of got into short-term rentals. You had the model that made sense, and I just want to kind of replicate the model. So I always say, like, I forgot who says this, but like success leaves clues. And so you left the clues as far as like cash flow and like a process that worked. So we wanted to replicate that process, and you know, it's been really successful. And I think,
Right.
you know, I want to put this out there. Like, Alex is single-handedly responsible for making cost segregation mainstream in short-term rentals. Before that, nobody was talking about it. So we were coming from the apartment syndication world where it's a common thing, but everybody, like Avery Carl didn't know what that was. Like she, you know, everybody like says it now, like off the, you know, but I think people learn because, like you said, you put your, you know, you put these Zoom meetings together, these meetups, there's a lot of education. There's a lot more experts that came into the field. And as a result of that, then it became like a commonly coined item. But what a lot of people don't know is, and I think what you're maybe not understating or like sharing as well, is that you had like a financial advisor who was giving you advice around, hey, this is what you should do to not pay taxes. And I think you were able to then share that in a very grand scale, and it brought in a lot of people, you know, besides just like the cash flow. So I guess, like, you know, for you, like, you know, you're building this community now. Like, what's next? Or like, let's say somebody is interested in getting started. Like, how do they get started?
As far as what's next, you know, it's weird. You get to financial freedom pretty quick, much faster than you expected. So it is well, crap, I didn't expect it to come this fast, you know? And so the pivot is like, well, I don't really know. And do I really need to get there? Because for me, the financial freedom number, you start looking at what you really want in life. You're like, well, do I really need to go down that rabbit hole? And you know, like, for example, like, I could really blow up my portfolio, or could I just be content with just 5, 6, 7 short-term rentals making $25,000 a month? You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And then just really like being there for your kids and your family. For me, you know, like when we started doing the short-term rental stuff, we were trying to get into multifamily and raise money and do all of this and to get bigger assets. So I do want to see that through. And I'm like, you know what, life's just too short. Let's just go for it. Let's see where this takes us. And so I do want to do bigger deals, and we've made some offers on hotels and motels out there. We're still working on trying to acquire the first like large property. As far as where to get started, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you don't know what to do. It's like if somebody wants to lose weight and start working out, well, what exercise do you want to do? What you know, what form or whatever, do I hire a personal trainer? Just get out there and just start doing something. Something's going to come from it. Start going to the gym, even if you're not doing the exercises right. You know what I mean? Just start a routine and start doing something, and something good's going to happen from it. Like I said, I never thought I'd be in short-term rentals, like, you know, years ago. I never even heard of it, you know, but eventually you get to a place where you niche down and you get to this one place where, shoot, I don't even know how, like, I bet you 5 years from now, I'll be doing something completely different other than short-term rentals. You really never know. Just start going down that rabbit hole and working your butt off, helping others. If you do those things, work your butt off, help others, good things are going to always come from it. So.
Hey, and you know what? And you're right. You know, and you know, one of the things I always mention too is, you know, where you start, you never end up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but just to change hats a little bit, because I think you also got something else special too going on. And one of the things you have special going on is having your wife on board, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is a big struggle for a lot of our investors, for new investors, for, you know, current investors. You know, I guess two things. One, you know, what's the secret sauce that you got going on over there to make that work? And then two, what advice do you have for individuals that is saying, man, I really want to jump into this investment world, real estate world, and how do I get my spouse on the same page?
Well, that's a really good question there. Not a lot of people ask that. I'm not really sure what she saw in me, you know. She kind of just went with a lot of what we were doing. But, you know, I think I would never jump on board on something that my spouse is not on board with. I mean, I think that's a recipe for disaster. Because what if it works out and they weren't really supportive? You're going to be kind of resentful. And what if it doesn't work out? They're going to be like, well, see, I told you so. So you really do need to be on page. I think I've been fortunate enough. My wife has kind of given me the keys and said, you know, you're going to just go with it. Because really, we should have just pumped the brakes. Like within the first couple of investments, we weren't very good at it. But the thing is, for some reason, we just kept going with it. But yeah, you do need to be like this when you guys are investing. Sometimes they're not seeing like the big picture. And maybe what I would recommend is, hey, if you're wanting to do a short-term rental, why don't you guys go rent an Airbnb and see the experience? Because I know a lot of people out there tell me, you know, my wife's not on board with getting a short-term rental. Go rent one. Go rent one and stay in it. And then see what the whole experience is like. And see if it's for you. But if it's going to cause a rift in your marriage, I wouldn't even do it, to tell you the truth.
So I want to touch on that. So I want to kind of tie some of those things that we have together. So one, you talked about like, you know, financial freedom number. It can be different for different people. Depends on what you value. Mm-hmm. So I think the conversation I had with my wife around, hey, I want to walk away from my W-2 in order to pursue this short-term rental thing full time, and kind of assessing, okay, so that, you know, will our quality of life change if I stay in the same job and do the same thing, or will it get better with having kind of some of that time freedom and flexibility, and being able to kind of spend time with the kids, but also pursuing something that might have a higher ceiling. So it's like having those conversations around, okay, this is the vision. So these are our priorities, and this is where we see it. So it was really, you know, how we prioritize it was looking at, okay, financially, quality of life's not going to change too much. So whether we make more or, you know, more money. Two, like I can spend more time with the kids and have more flexibility. There's a little bit less stress. And I think all those things, it sounds like you guys have kind of had those discussions around how to, you know, what matters, and that's kind of laid out like the plan for you guys, and you know, like it's super exciting to kind of see it like play out because so many people are scared to do that. So my question to you is, what would you say to people who are scared to kind of take that leap of faith? Because it's like some people are so tied to an income or think that they just want money, and money is the only thing that matters. What would you say to somebody like that?
Yeah, money's not going to be everything. And, you know, like the other thing too is, are you guys ready for success? Like what that entailed with me is traveling all the time. And that's something we still struggle with right now, right? Because you start becoming successful, but you're like, oh, it's going to require a little bit more work. It's going to require a little bit more commitment, which in turn will make me walk away from my W-2 job. You got to find what your passions are. When I look at healthcare field, a lot of doctors, they won't quit their jobs ever. I ask them, everyone has a number. Every single person has a number where you're not going to work anymore, right? And it's weird because a lot of doctors, they'll say no. And I say, well, what if you're making $1 million a month? They're probably BSing with me, and they're like, oh, it'd still work, you know. And maybe it's true. Maybe they will work. But once you get to that number, you're like, well, what do you do now? You know, and then it's like, can you just, if you don't want to quit your job, maybe you do something different. Maybe you teach at an institution or mentor different students that are coming up in healthcare. You know, maybe you do something like that. Find another passion. For me, it's been very fulfilling helping others in real estate. And so that's kind of why I want to see that through. I've been in respiratory therapy for 20 years. I still love it. But the thing is, at a certain point, it's like, this is pulling me this other way. So just jump in and find that passion and see what's pulling you. And for me, what's pulling me is helping others, you know, start their own short-term rental business.
That's fantastic. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, being a W-2 employee, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think that it's a problem when you're not using it to benefit another area in your life, and that can be to fund your, real estate deals, that can be to do whatever, that thing is, but you should have a reason outside of the, the passion thing. And passion is big. I hear you say it all the time, and not just hear you say it, we get the opportunity to see it, by you just helping so many people in your community. So when it comes to this short-term rental game, let's give the listeners some of the other side. Let's give the listeners some of the things you faced, and you had that brick wall there and overcame the brick wall. I guess, can you give, I don't know, top 2 or 3 things that you faced, dealing with the short-term rental so far?
Well, it's more of a business than it is real estate. That's what I tell people. You're in the hospitality business. Real estate just so happens to be the vehicle, right? Like there's all the same tax benefits, mortgage. It's an actual home, but it's an actual business. And what I find is I've helped so many people because I talk so passionately about it, but they're not as successful as me. And I think what it is because they're not, they don't have the same business mindset. Like I'll give you an example. Like I have a friend who had an amazing new build, and the furniture that the builder provided was extremely nice. It was really nice, but she wound up putting like a cloth over this table, this really nice table, because she didn't want anyone to damage it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then the thing is, when she had the professional pictures done, she had this huge cloth over the table. And so, you know what? That's taking stuff way too personal. It's a business and people are going to damage it. I'm sorry. Right. So the thing is, like, these homes that I purchase are way nicer than the house that I live in right now. But it's a business. Right. And I know that if you go in with the mindset that, you know what, that has a lifespan of about 3 years and it lasts for 2 years, you're like, well, I was expecting for it to break anyway. And then you kind of just move on. So that's the thing with short-term rentals. Like, guests are going to break stuff, and it's okay because that's just part of the business. And don't take it too personal. So that's the number one thing. The number two thing, like we work probably, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes a day. We hire virtual assistants now. Real estate investing, self-managing your short-term rental is part-time, but it's all the time. It's all the time. Yesterday was Christmas, and we've had pipes freezing, and those are some of the things that you're just going to have to deal with. You're going to have to deal with just handling situations that are uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable trying to get a plumber or calling your handyman on Christmas Eve to say, hey, can you go over here and check this out? So yeah, like I said, part-time, but all the time. You never really know when that phone call is going to come. It's not like you're clocking into work, 9 to 5. You're on 24 hours a day. And that 30 minutes that you're working that day might be 9 a.m. It might wind up being 8 p.m. at night when you're at, having dinner with your family or something like that.
So I love that. Part-time, all the time. So I think with short-term rentals, that is 100% definitely the case. Like when you think about, like you said, things are going to come up and you don't know when they're going to come up, but they are going to come up. And I think some people don't have that resilience to want to deal with that, while others, they have kind of a different mindset where it's a business and they want to go ahead and they'll handle it however they see fit. So for somebody who's like interested in short-term rentals, but maybe doesn't want to manage it, what's the alternative, or what would you suggest to them? Like they're interested in the niche, but maybe they're not really wanting to do all the dirty work. Like what are alternative options?
Yeah, I have a lot of this because like I said, I know a lot of doctors that work long hours. They have the capital. They want the tax breaks, and they can grasp the fact that owning a vacation home, that's an idea that they can wrap their heads around. You really need to find someone that knows what they're doing and partner with them, and then just wind up splitting the profits. Say, hey, I have $100,000. I don't have the time to put into setting. Like I was at my short-term rental last week, and I was working 18 to 20 hours a day, driving back and forth to Home Depot, back and forth to Walmart, just dealing with a lot of different issues and trying to set this property up to be dummy proof. Physicians or nurses or any health or any worker, period, some of them don't have that time. So you need to find someone and be okay with splitting that profit with them. It's still going to be way better than long-term rental. Like you could put $100,000 into a long-term rental and you'll generate $200-300 a month. But if you put $100,000 into a property and split the profits with someone else that knows what they're doing, I bet you're still going to profit way more than you are with the long-term rental. And you're going to get a chance to use it at the same time in the down season too. So,
Hey, listen, I believe in partnerships. Partnerships are great. People can bring, just like you mentioned, one person can bring the money, the other person can bring, the operational experience, and that's a marriage for success. But Alex, man, we can sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and hours. But there's one great question we like to ask everyone.
Okay.
What does find your freedom mean to you?
Okay, so find your freedom. It has nothing to do with money. I know a lot of times we're searching for money, but if you're going to find it, okay, so if money is your goal, I think you're being misguided because you'll hit the money right away. What your freedom is your passion. Find something else what you're passionate because it's going to drive you even more. And then money winds up being just kind of like an afterthought, right? Like for me, it was helping others invest in real estate and start their own short-term rental business. For me, that's freeing. That's freeing seeing other people be successful. And money has nothing to do with that, right? It's just seeing you helping others. Okay, so me helping others was my freedom, if that makes sense.
So I love that, Alex, because I think a lot of people get into the short-term rental game and the first thing they think is money and that's all they want. And then they become really miserable and they want to get out of it because they realize it's a lot of work and it's not worth the money. And so for you, it's been like, hey, let me help others kind of achieve financial success. Let me help others kind of become business owners. So I love that. And, I kind of like Lenny said, I feel like we can keep talking about this like on and on. And what I want to do is like, just ask like, how can people find you? Like where can they connect with you? Yeah.
Well, I'm really active on social media. So I'm on Instagram at the real Alex Sabio, or if you just type in my name, Alex Sabio. I'm on Facebook a lot too. And my healthcare professionals investing in real estate Facebook group. You can find me there. If you're not in healthcare, you could join. I'll go ahead and accept you. But that's kind of where I've been adding a lot of value to others. It's just me giving tips every single day. Like, hey, you guys should think about this or consider this next time winter comes. You need to do this to prevent all of these things from happening. I really do just share all of my mistakes out there. It's like, hey, this is really what I've done and this is what I've learned. So that Facebook group, you guys are more than welcome to join that.
That's great. That's great, man. So we always say here at Find Your Freedom, right? We have friends here and not guests, but it's a special thing that we do at the end of every show. All right.
Okay.
On a count of 3. All right. If anyone that knows me knows I'm the boom guy. Okay, so you got to boom with us here, Alex.
Okay.
We have to be uniformed, right? There's no one go ahead of the other. All right, so you got to knock this out. All right, so on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, let's say boom. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, boom! Awesome. Hey, once again, man, we just had a fantastic show with our friend, which is now going to be your friend, the great Alex. And once again, make sure you are following him because his passion is to ensure that you are financially free and find your freedom. Now, if you want more episodes just like this one, we need a couple things from you. We need you to sit here and make sure, 1, you subscribe. 2, make sure that you ask some questions because Omid and I is always going to answer them and lead you to helping you find your freedom. And take our podcast and email it to every single person that you know to make sure that they join, listen, and subscribe. Until the next episode, we see everyone later. Peace.
Peace.
See you guys.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Alex,
Yeah,
man,
sure.
it was
No
fantastic.